So how do we get multiple samples into Structure and how do we map them across the keyboard? Well, it's really simple, and I'm going to use some sound effects for this. So I'm going to come out of the edit window like so. I'm just going to mute the loop and right click and add an empty patch. It's on channel 2. I'm going to just put it on channel 1 like so. We can verify that it's getting MIDI right here. Then I'm going to open up the editor and you can see that there's no sample data, there's no parts on the left hand side, and there's no zones at the bottom. So I'm going to come over to the browser and I've got some sound effects that I can immediately audition, and I can either drag them in on their own or I can make a multiple selection, pick them up, drag and drop them right into the parts list. We immediately get a dialog that's asking how do we want to import these samples? Do we want to map them chromatically or a different way? And we have a few different options, chromatically from C3, and we're going to map them over each key, but we can also specify black keys or white keys or by root key with some other options right here. So when I hit OK, you'll notice that it immediately maps them across my keyboard. And I can zoom in and I can not only see the zones, but I can see the file names, and I can simply come along and select the one that I want to work with. Go to the WAV file, and I can truncate that just a little bit. Finishes a little abruptly, so what I'm going to do is come along and put a fade in. Perfectly, and even put a fade in right here at the beginning as well. And you can see the waveform update in real time. I'm going to come back to this sample right here to show you how we can set up a quick loop. So I'm going to make a selection right there, right click, and set my loop points. Immediately the loop button comes on, and that will now loop over and over this section right here. I can even come and edit the crossfade. So for example, I can grab this, tell the crossfade to be like that with a slight curve on it. There's my other sample. And there's even a MIDI button that I can switch on, which will change the waveform editor as I play my different samples. And of course I can easily then go to the zone, like so, come over to my effects and add some echo. I want to add some of the Send 3 to that. And once we're finished, we double click to zoom out. We can either choose to make another layer simply by coming back to the browser, scrolling down. We'll take some different samples, and this time we'll drag and drop them. Map them this time from C1. Type in C1, hit OK, and now you can see they've been remapped into a completely different part. And I can double click. We can call this FX2. We'll call this one FX1. Then we'll exit the editor, and you can see that my new patch, which I'll call FX, has now got two different parts, FX1 and FX2. So as you can see, the drag and drop functionality of Structure is absolutely second to none. And it doesn't matter whether you're mapping samples, drum samples across your keyboard, whether you're sampling a synthesizer and making samples of your own, or whether you're working with effects like I'm doing. I think you're going to find that Structure will become the main staple in your studio.